Welcome to r/entitled people, where we share stories from your lives about people who think the rules don't apply to them and they should get what they want. Thank you, friends, for subscribing to the channel and for so many likes. And today we have 3 great stories. So subscribe, hit the like button, and let's begin. The first story: EPs try to hijack daughter's flight, demand to speak to manager at airport. The second story: hotel confronts persistent scammer, bans her for life. The third story: a tale of vindication over a former tyrannical boss. The first story is: EPs try to follow me on a flight and demand to speak to your manager. Backstory: this happened a few years ago. My parents are the epitome of what makes an EP and have got plenty of stories about their antics. To sum it up quickly, I had decided at 18 years old to run away from them and live overseas, where I am today and quite happy. This was the biggest decision of my life and I was nervous as heck. They had done terrible stuff since my childhood, and I needed to get away for my own safety and well-being. I planned the flight about 2 weeks before the date, and my parents the whole time didn't think I'd go through with it. To be fair, they only thought I was going on vacation for a short bit. Came the day, and after me calling an Uber to take me to the airport, they caved to save face and took me themselves. I checked in and did all that good stuff before I had to go through security. I waved them off and began to walk forward, until the following goes down. S equals security. EM and ED are self-explanatory. S: excuse me, where's your boarding pass? I only see one here. He points at my boarding pass. EM: oh, don't worry, we're just gonna take our daughter to the gate. S: no, I'm afraid you can't go past this post without a boarding pass. EM: what? But she's our daughter. You can't tell me what I can and can't do with my own daughter? Security guy sighs and looks at a flustered me up and down. I have a baby face and have always looked so much younger than I really am. S: alright, how old is she? EM: well, she's me. I'm 18, sir. EM glares at me. Shh! S: well, she's an adult and does not require accompaniment from her parents. I'm afraid I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. EM: but she does. She's not mentally 18. She's mentally regressed and has issues. Me, shocked and embarrassed. I had depression brought on by diagnosed PTSD. Those were my issues. Yet she worded it to make it sound like I was intellectually disabled. What? ED: she's mentally a child. She still likes Chinese cartoons, referring to anime and manga. S: I don't see how that applies here. She seems capable enough. Do you feel you can go through on your own? Me: yes, I'm okay. EM: ugh, liar. She begins stomping her foot in frustration like a toddler. Just let me through right now with my daughter. ED: yeah, and me. S sighs, calling another security officer over. S2: what seems to be the problem, S? EM cutting them both off. This jerk won't let me go through the gate to me with my daughter who's mentally R-slur. S2: the real story, please. S explains the deal, and EPs are fuming. They can tell by the look on their faces they're not going to get their way. Finally, EM yells out the famously awaited Karen line. EM: I know my rights. I demand to speak to your manager. So another person comes over and the 3 of them are talking quietly together. Me: Mom, Dad, this is going too far. I'm gonna miss my flight if this keeps going. ED: and whose fault is that? You should have booked a later flight. Me: my flight is at 11 at night. ED: not my problem. If you miss your flight, that's on you. Finally, they stop talking and approach us. Supervisor: hi, I think we can make a compromise. I'm not supposed to do this, but I'll allow one of you through with her to have a meal or just sit with her for a bit. I could really get in trouble doing this, but I know how far she's going and I know it'll be hard. EM reads her title name on her name tag. I asked for a manager. Manager. ED: this is pathetic. Your proposal is also pathetic. How are you gonna break up a nice family like that? Me: I really will be fine. I'll catch up with you next time, okay? Supervisor: I understand where you're coming from, but OP seems more than capable and is an adult. I'm breaking the rules by letting even one of you go through without a ticket, but it's my offer. EM: no, 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 no. This is ridiculous. By now, EM is stamping around and waving her arms around. She gets up close to the security who kinda eyed her and she immediately backs away but doesn't stop stamping. S: ma'am, I'm afraid if you don't stop, I'm gonna have to escort all of you away. Me realizing he means me too. I quietly mutter an OSH under my breath and begin to panic a bit. EM: Fine, we'll just take our daughter home then. She takes my arm, but I quickly pull away. Me. Stop! ED. How dare you apologize to your mother? Supervisor looks at me. Would you like a parent to go with you? Me. No, not really. EPs. What? Supervisor. Okay, please come along then. EM. No, I demand you let us on her flight with all the problems you've caused. ED. Yeah, and make it first class, or any upgrades. EM. You didn't get the manager, you got a supervisor. You lied to me. Manager, manager. Supervisor, ignoring, turns to me. May I double check your ticket? Me. Yeah, of course. I show her my ticket. Supervisor. Perfect. One boarding pass for one person. Step this way and enjoy your flight. Me. Thank you. EM grabs my arm. No! Okay, one of us will go through. OP, you like Wendy's, right? Let's get Wendy's through there. Me removes my arm. No, thank you. I grab my suitcase and walk through security. EP tries to follow and are immediately stopped. ED. This is not the service we pay for. We should be allowed a ticket on the flight for this. EM. Wendy's, OP. Wendy's, come on, Wendy's, Wendy's. I don't look back and now I'm further away. I can no longer hear them over the line of people I'm in. I got my flight just fine and arrived in one piece. I cut contact with both of them. Legend has it EM is still screaming Wendy's to this day. It's fun to watch the EPs and EDs try to follow you to your flight and demand to talk to your manager when you finally decide to break away from them and start your independent life. It sounds like your parents have had a pretty rough time with their inability to control you and use you in their schemes. Their anxiety and nervousness when their requests are denied is admirable. They are clearly used to having their demands met unconditionally, and now they have to face rejection, which apparently shocks them to the core. But eventually you took your freedom and went on the flight, leaving them with their screams and demands. And reportedly, the EP is still fighting for the Wendy's. What a great ending to this story, showing that even adult children can finally break free from the control of their EP parents and start a new life. Good luck to you, and may your life be free from their interference. The second story is, welcome to the ever so cozy DNR list. This was a while ago, but the same guest showed up again, so it rehashed the frustration and giggles out of me. About August of 2021, I had a woman come into the lobby trying to rent a room. There were a few big bright red flags. 1, she was covered in red fluid. 2, she was shaking and unable to focus. 3, she only came in with a piece of paper. The conversation goes, me, good evening, how can I help you tonight? Her, I need to get a room for 1, no 2 adults and 3 kids. Me, okay, so a double's going to be 120 plus taxes and any other fees and deposits. I'll need your ID and form of payment. Her, I don't have my ID, but this is my brother's and I want to use this card. Indicates a restaurant receipt with a card number scribbled on it. I recognized the card number since it was my MIL's, and she had shown me the card when she got it since it had a family picture on it. Me, ma'am, I need your ID with a card in your name. She left and brought in a man. Her, this is my brother. This is his ID and we want to use this card. Still trying to give me the receipt. The man on the ID was a Hispanic man around 5'11". The man she brought in was a white man closer to my height at 4'11". Me, ma'am, I need a physical card with a name matching an ID. Her, why can't you just take this one? And here's an ID. This was the ID of an Asian woman. She was white. Me, ma'am, I have no way of knowing if that card belongs to you. Him, whatever happened to the honor system? Me, sir, I cannot begin to explain to you why that's the absolute dumbest thing I've heard today, and I have a 10-year-old brother who spent 20 minutes explaining how my hair grows from the bottom of our existing hair and not out of the top of our heads. Her, you will take this card. Me, no, I will not. No one will. If you cannot provide sufficient identification, then I have to ask you to leave. However, I will be taking those 2 IDs from you, and you will no longer be welcome to stay at any hotels owned by this company. They went to argue until I threatened to call the police. As they walked out the door, I called the police anyways. I turned in the IDs and video of the 2 people who came in. I called MIL and told her to lock the card. They got caught at another hotel trying to use the same card on a receipt with another ID that didn't belong to either of them. Now to the present. Her, I need a room. Me, you need to leave. Her, excuse me, I'm a paying customer. Me, you provided me with 2 IDs that did not belong to you and a card on a restaurant receipt from the restaurant you work in. Sorry, worked in. You got fired, didn't you? Or did my mother-in-law not report you for stealing her card information? Now, I do believe I asked you to leave nicely. I won't ask again. Willing or not, you will be removed from this property. I suggest you take this chance before I call security to hold you until the police get here for your trespassing. She was held by security for trespassing. This story just radiates a sense of fulfillment. This persistent woman and her accomplice were so eager to cheat the system and illegally check into the hotel, but they were not to succeed. The hotel operator stood by the rules and security with skill and patience. It would seem that how could one hope to pass with false documents in someone else's card? But this couple so naively believed in the success of their plan that they did not even realize how quickly they would be exposed. And here comes the moment of sweet revenge. This woman who tried to cheat the system had to face her own mistakes and the consequences of her actions. Not only was she kicked out of the hotel, but she was also found guilty of stealing the card, which will surely lead to legal consequences. The third story is vindication from a former employee. So, up until the end of February, I was working for a franchise of a security company. The last few months of my employment were relatively easy, as I worked at an assisted living facility where the bulk of my job was just monitoring alarms. It was great until Christmas, when my boss decided to cut all of our hours to accommodate bringing in another guard, when we didn't need another guard. On top of that, sometime after the new year, the facility was bought out by a new company that seemed to be under the impression that as security, we were also on site maintenance / office assistant / gopher. I made it clear that I wasn't able to do all of that with a herniated disc in my back, and frankly, I wouldn't do it because it's not what I was paid to do. So the client decided they didn't want me there. No problem, it happens. It's part of the nature of security work. Anyone can dismiss you for literally any reason. My boss, however, instead of listening to my side of things, decided to cut back my hours to 0 because I wasn't doing something I not only was not trained to do by his assistant manager, but specifically told by her not to do. He and I butted heads. I wouldn't back down, he wouldn't back down. So I never reached out to him again and started looking for more work. I found a new job within 4 days. I've been working security for most of my adult life and I'm a giant. I stand at 6'4" and weigh in at around 350 pounds. They not only offered me full-time hours again, but more money to boot. I jumped on it right away and was taking my test for the job at the week mark, after last talking to my former employer. Fast forward to last night. At this point, I've been with the new company for about a month. It's been 5 weeks since I last heard from my previous boss. All their phone numbers had been deleted from my phone, so last night when he calls me at 9 p.m., I just let it go to VM because I didn't recognize it. I listened to the voicemail and here he is offering me a shift. He sounded angry too, which tells me he had no other choice. Not only that, but he's saying he needs me to call him back by 2 a.m. for this shift. Yeah, you heard me right. This dude not only tried to keep me on the line without work for 5 weeks, he also wanted to call me out of the blue at 9 p.m. for a shift that started at 2 a.m. When I say it brought me joy to hear the anger in his voice at having to offer me work after being a total D to me, I'm telling you I could have died happy. But no, now's not the time to die. Now's the time for vindication. My exact words to him were, "Ha, you must be desperate if you're calling me. Dude, within 4 days of when we last talked, I had another job that not only actually gave me full-time hours, but more money too. You can't afford me, but thank you for the opportunity to tell you to blow it out your A." Was my response sophomoric? Yes. Did I just unnecessarily burn a bridge behind me? Absolutely. Did it feel great getting to tell a former employer that not only paid D, but wouldn't give me hours and also treated me like SH to blow it out of his A? You're effing right it did. It's not often the universe serves you up a home run like that. I hope all of you have the opportunity. It's so worth it. How sweet it is to read a story about how a former employer was desperate and had to beg for help for someone he left behind for 5 weeks without a job. Karma coming back to clean up the mess turned out to be your best friend this time. And how nice it was to hear his angry voice when he offered you a job. That moment was just exceptional. Yes, you might call your response somewhat unconscious, but when you have the opportunity to express your displeasure to a former boss who didn't value you as an employee, it's incredibly satisfying. And of course, you didn't just tell him no, you said something that deserves an ovation. Just imagine the look on your boss's face when he hears that. It's an unbelievable pleasure. Hit the like button to support the channel and subscribe. Have a good day.